I should begin by wishing the President of the United States a happy birthday. He is 81. He is roughly 60 years older than the youngest voters who will be voting for him, and they don't like him. There is, y'all. Oh, let's just be frank here. There's no way to put a nice bow around this for the Democrats. Y'all are in trouble if you're a Democrat. Let me just give you. This is from the Fox News poll. Republicans are up 24% on border security, up 20% on national security, up 18% on terrorism, up 12% on inflation, up 12% on foreign policy, up 12% on crime, and up 11% on government spending. Hello. That's not good. On top of that, President Biden in the NBC News poll, he is cratering towards historic lows for a presidential reelection. His polling average now, and again, you can't take much from the individual polls because they're wobbly, but the polling average, you can get an idea of where things are, and it's worse than Jimmy Carter. It's horrible for Joe Biden. In the NBC News poll, he's at 40%. The erosion for Biden is most pronounced among Democrats, a majority of whom believe Israel has gone too far in its military action in Gaza, and among voters 18 to 34, with a whopping 70% of them disapproving of Biden's handling of the war. Failed promises, student loans, foreign policy in general, said Democrat Zico Shell, 23 of San Diego, when asked why he disapproves of Biden's performance. Joe Biden is at a uniquely low point in his presidency, and a significant part of this, especially within the Biden coalition, is due to how Americans are viewing his foreign policy actions, says Democratic pollster Jeff Horowitz of Hart Research Associates, who conducted the poll along with Republican pollster Bill McInturff of Public Opinion Strategies. McInturff says he can't recall another time when foreign affairs not involving U.S. troops transformed the American political landscape. There is caution here for the Republicans, but by the way, you should know in the Harvard-Harris polling and the NBC poll and the Fox poll, Joe Biden loses to every Republican. The further you get from Trump, the better he does, or the better the Republican does. He loses to Trump. He loses more to DeSantis. He loses even more to Nikki Haley. It's remarkable how bad it is for Joe Biden. There is a problem, however, for the Republicans. When pushed, Democratic voters who are mad at Joe Biden stomping their feet and saying, I'll never vote for that SOB. Look what he's done in Israel, or not done in Israel. When Donald Trump is the Republican nominee, they begin to come back to him. Trump radicalizes the left more than the right. Joe Biden is radicalizing everyone at this point, though, and that's part of the problem for him. But it's not just this. Ron Klain is there's a problem. So there was a political panel behind the scenes of Democrats. Let me just read you this. This is from the Washington Post, the Hamas-backed Washington Post. Over the last full weekend of September, Hollywood titan Ari Emanuel, brother of former Chicago mayor and current Japan ambassador Rahm Emanuel, co-hosted his annual off-the-record power conference, gathering fellow luminaries of entertainment, finance, politics, and technology in sun-dappled Aspen, Colorado. At one point, during a political panel that included Ron Klain, President Biden's former chief of staff, an audience member worried aloud that the Democratic Party had a serious problem. Biden is too old and could lose the election, this person fretted, before asking the question that has been disquieting Democratic circles for more than a year. What is the backup plan? Klain's rebuttal was swift, recalled one attendee, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to share candid details. The president is the party's nominee, Klain said, and a strong nominee at that. There is no backup plan. The audience rumbled with exasperation and disbelief, grumbling about the lack of a plan B. Now, you should know Democrats are big fans of plan B if you can get it over the counter. Some Democrats later approached Klain to thank him for his forceful defense of Biden, said a second person, Similar scenes are playing out all over. They are mad at David Axelrod. Now, you should know, I know David Axelrod. I've been to David Axelrod's home. He invited me to speak up at the University of Chicago a while back. We may disagree on a lot, but David Axelrod is not an a-hole. Yet that is what Joe Biden has taken to referring to David Axelrod as, because Axelrod had the temerity to look at all the polling and say, Democrats, the polls aren't wrong. You need to come up with another scenario. Maybe Joe Biden needs to step aside. And the Democrats are having none of it. None. They're beginning to have the meltdown within the Democratic Party that we always knew was coming right in time for Joe Biden's 81st birthday. Look, here's the problem. Just bottom line problem here. The presidency of the United States sucks the life out of every occupant. Look at the before and after pictures. The only guy who didn't age in office was Donald Trump, which, according to his critics, just shows you how light he was in office and relied on all the other serious people. Mike Pence aged in the vice presidency. You want to know who shouldered a lot of the burdens of the Trump White House? Probably Mike Pence is the one who aged. But George Bush, before and after, aged. Barack Obama aged. Bill Clinton aged. All of them, they age. It's a high-stress 24/7 job. There's no off switch for the presidency. You can't abdicate your position unless you go in for surgery under anesthesia and you pass the buck to the vice president. Otherwise, you are the president of the United States 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and then in the year you're running for re-election, 366. You age. And when you are as old as Joe Biden already, you age like the dude who drank from the wrong cup in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And he's there. And everybody knows it. The Democrats know it. Even the Biden White House staff behind the scenes, they start talking about it's not that he's lost the skip and the step, it's that he can't skip at all without falling over. He's got to stay on script. When he goes off script, he goes creepy. Joe Biden this weekend was confronted with a little kid and told her he liked her ears. And then told a group of kids that he wanted to hang out with them instead of hanging out with the adults. Oh, I bet so, creepy Joe. Want to sniff anybody's hair today? They can't let him go off script. Last week, he went off script. You had Anthony Blinken having heart palpitations while Joe Biden started talking about Xi Jinping as a dictator. Good for Biden for that. But the staff can't let him go off script. He's 81 years old. It's time for Joe Biden to retire. I suspect his wife's afraid he'll kill over debt if he slows down. She doesn't want him to slow down. But at some point, this really is elder abuse. What's notable is the Democratic response is to instead make it about Trump. Well, you know, he's old too. In fact, if Donald Trump gets elected, he'll be the same age Biden was, and he'll age the same way Biden did. Are you really sure you want someone that old? Look, he's already missing a step. He referred to Barack Obama as president the other day. He said he'd get Bagram Air Force Base back from the Taliban. I thought he wanted to withdraw from Afghanistan. Now he wants to do a trade deal with the Taliban and get an Air Force Base in Afghanistan. What's up with this guy? He's a little off kilter. He's a little off the rock. It doesn't really help you, though, when you're Joe Biden to make the case that Donald Trump, yes, they're both old. One is older than the other. But see, the polling for the public suggests they don't hold Trump's age against him, if only because they don't see him as often. See, Trump can run a in-your-basement campaign in 2024 like Biden did in 2020 and make Biden be the one out on the campaign trail. After all, he's the incumbent president of the United States. Trump can play it safe. It doesn't translate the criticisms of the president to Trump. They don't translate because Joe Biden is president. He wanted to be president. And his polling is cratering. He's losing young people. He's losing old people. He's beginning to lose black people. The younger you are as a black American, the more likely you are to think about voting Republican, which is a staggering bit of data. But the data is holding up across polling. Younger Democrats benefited from Donald Trump's economy, and they remember it. Now, to be sure, the GOP can screw it all up. Don't get overconfident. Republicans have a masterful way of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. There are a lot of concerns about how Donald Trump mobilizes non-Republican voters. Donald Trump, it is true, you just need to acknowledge it, Donald Trump incites progressive voters. Those who hate Joe Biden might just turn out to stop Donald Trump, so they'll come back. So you have to take the polling with a grain of salt there. They're tied within the margin of error. Donald Trump slightly ahead in most of the polling. Every other Republican blows Joe Biden out of the water. You have to be concerned about events. Events change things. There could be a rally around the flag moment, but there's a problem for Joe Biden that gets into this. Republicans lead by 20 on national security, 24 on border security, 18 on terrorism. If you do have sleeper cells in this country that have crossed the border that lash out at this country, Joe Biden is going to bear the burden of the blame, and so will the Democrats, by the way. There's no getting out of this. If bad people have come across our border and they do something bad, the Democrats, not just Joe Biden, own it because they refuse to secure the border. The Republicans are connected with border security, and the Democrats are connected with open borders. Events can go either way in the coming year. If you're a Republican and your frontrunner is tied with Joe Biden, and Biden is historically unpopular, why would you go with your frontrunner when every single other person beats him handily? If you're a Democrat and you're historically unpopular and tied with Donald Trump, who you hate, why wouldn't you jump ship to someone else? Both parties have decided to subject the American public to politics by proctology. No one wants either of these men to be president of the United States, other than the hardcore of the bases. People would rather have a colonoscopy and a root canal at the same time without anesthesia than relive Biden-Trump, but the parties are insistent on doing so. The problem here, what makes this so interesting to me as just a student of politics, is that you could have a historically low turnout because of that. And who knows who will win? It depends on the passions of the bases in that case. What I do know is that if you have a Biden versus Trump 2024 race, it will probably be the nastiest election in American history, as both sides do nothing but pour out good old-fashioned hate on the other side. Both parties have something to consider there. But in the meantime, happy birthday, Joe Biden.
When the world